Frequently asked question number 35. Should I repot my succulents, or when should I repot my succulents? Now guys, ideally regular house plants that are the foliage plants, we tend to repot them probably twice in a year, or probably once in a year, depending upon how root bound they are, because foliage plants, they tend to grow quite quick and hence they require a repotting on a regular basis. Now when I'm saying regular basis, probably once in a year or once in 6 months. But that's not the same case with our succulents, because as we all know by now that succulents tend to grow very slow, and it's almost impossible for a succulent to get root bound within 6 months or probably within a year. So ideally, a general thumb rule is that you can repot your succulents once in 2 years or once in 3 years. Now, not because they are getting root bound, because even after 2 years as well, a lot of succulents will not get root bound, will still not get root bound. For example, I have some of my succulents that have been in the same pot for almost 3 years and I haven't even repotted them, and they have been doing quite well. But if you want to repot, probably you can give 2 years time or 3 years time, and it is going to work out really well if you can change the soil and give them a new fresh soil. A lot of times if you are using activated charcoal, because activated charcoal will not remain activated for a very long time, they usually start to lose the power by 2 years or probably by 2.5 years. So at that point of time, if you want to add any activated charcoal, if you do not want to take out the entire soil, take out a little bit of soil and then add the activated charcoal into the soil. Or if you want, you can just repot. Probably you're bored of the pot and after 2 years you want to repot it, you can do it. But again, as I said, it has to be after a very long time. After 2 years or 2.5 years, you can repot your succulents. Now ideally, its best time to repot is in the beginning of their growing season. Let's say for Echeveria, because Echeverias tend to grow during the summers. So probably early summers, let's say by the end of January, or whenever the summers are going to start in your country or in your place, before the start of the growing season, you can repot your succulents, and this is going to give a higher survival rate. Talking about other varieties like sedums, crassulas, or graptoverias, graptopelaums, they tend to go dormant during the summers, and their growing period is during the winters. So as soon as the summers are going off and you are about to get into the winter season, so in early winter you can start repotting your succulents that are winter growing. So basically you can repot your succulents at the beginning of their growing period, and that's going to work out really well because they will have more space, they will feel little fresh, the soil is also going to be replenished. But again guys, not very soon, you have to wait for a couple of years, for 2 years. That is going to work out really well, because as we have spoken about this, constant repotting every now and then will hamper their growth. I have noticed this. The succulents that I happened to move them quite often were growing slow compared to the ones that were kept in one place. I seen that the succulents that were not touched were putting out more pups compared to the ones that I kept moving them here and there, because probably because of the sunlight or due to rains or for whatever reasons, probably the light was not enough and I was still experimenting with it. So I kept moving them and shifting them, and I realized the ones that I shifted quite often were having a much slower growth and were not even putting out any pups. But the ones that I didn't touch, I just kept them aside and didn't even move them a bit, were the ones that were putting out pups. So ensure that you do not move them quite often, do not repot them quite often. That tends to hamper. So whenever you are planting a succulent, ensure that you're keeping everything in mind: the pot, the soil, the size of the pot, where you are going to be placing the succulent, so that later on you do not need to move them often. So guys, I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and thank you so much for watching.